Good morning, everybody. I apologize for being 2 minutes late. I got lost track on something. It's really interesting. I'm following. Let's get started. Let's look at it. You're going to love this. This is going to be some inside baseball I want to share with you on how you track what the economy is actually doing. Just stick with me. Let's dig right into it. Look, folks, when you start talking about financial figures, so much of what you see and hear is either filtered through the corporate media or it is just flat out bullshit from the administration, and flat out lies. There's some things in this world that you cannot lie about. Have you ever wondered why these Wall Street folks are so far ahead of the curve all the time? You hear about these Wall Street whales, and economic collapse happens, and then you read an article about how smart this guy was a genius. He knew it. He saw it coming. Everybody else was telling you it was fine, but he took his money out of the market before it happened. He's a genius. Well, it's not about being genius. I'm going to give you a little bit of inside baseball on where you personally can get real information that tells you exactly what's going on with the economy. This is actually one of my favorite websites that I love to waste time on. It's marinetraffic.com. Let me show you what it looks like. This is marinetraffic.com. And it's really fascinating. Each one of these little arrows is a ship. And as ships travel, there's communication systems that tracks their travel, where they're going. It's kind of like Jet Finder, but for ships. And as you can tell, there are a lot of ships constantly traveling around. Each one of these arrows is a ship, and it tracks global traffic. And I was just sitting around. As you scroll over, some of them will not have descriptive information on the information they send out, and a lot of them do. They want their vessels tracked. They do, and all you have to do is scroll over one of these little arrows, and it will pull up exactly what the ship is. And this one right here, this is the MSC Sonia. I have it pulled up for you right here, the MSC Sonia. And the kind of information that you get is what port it left from. It left from Busan, North Korea, and where it's headed is headed to Long Beach. And it tells you its course and its speed. Of course, the type of vessel, it's a container ship. It's one big MSC container ship. Well, how is that useful? I mean, why is that interesting? Well, if you know just some basic information, for instance, these container ships, they run flat out in a good economy. If they're not moving cargo, they're not making money. And they run about 24 knots. And that's what they run at. They run these ships. Some run a little faster, some a little slower, but it's going to be 20 to 26 knots these ships are turning. I mean, that's pretty damn good for a boat that big. But this one's running at 16 knots. Is it having trouble? Mechanical issue? Well, that's why this site is so freaking cool and why you get insider information just by taking a look at something like Vessel Finder's another one. And if you just take a look at this site and you start looking around, finding other cargo ships, taking a look at them. This is the CMA. Don't know the entire ship name is covered up there. Another big cargo ship. It's CMA. It's one of the Chinese shipping lines from Busan to Busan. It's doing a round trip. They turned around. They turned that boat around, and it's only doing 18 knots. Well, that's weird. That's weird. One, they turned the boat around, and two, it's only doing 18 knots. There's another small cargo carrier, Xinmai Zhao. It's heading back from Tampa back to Shanghai. Man, you'd think it'd be running flat out, bud, because you know it's not full. Coming out of Tampa, it's not full, which means every second it's on the seas, it's wasting money. So what does all this mean? And you can go through and you can look at all of these different ships, different type of ships. There's tankers, bulk tankers, like this is the Winch Victory. It's an oil tanker. It's doing 13 knots. That's about, these oil tankers can turn about 18 knots, 18 to 20 knots. But everything is running. They're doing what's called slow steaming. Slow steaming. What does that mean? And slow steaming is a thing. What that means is in the middle of a recession or a slowing economy, the first thing that gets hit are factory orders. But you don't get the details on those factory orders right away. Those are reported quarterly. You would have a hard time accessing factory orders. But you can go to Vessel Finder and you can take a look at what the vessels are doing. Because if they're not shipping rates are plummeting, which is something else you can do. You can Google what current shipping rates. The terminology you're looking for is called a TEU, or 20-foot equivalent unit. That's the standard rate. So a 40-foot shipping container is going to be 2 TEUs. This tells you exactly what's going on with the economy. Global TEUs booked down 50%. Overall U.S. imports down 64%. Overall U.S. exports down 30%. U.S. imports from China down 64%. U.S. exports bound for China down 36%. Okay. You want to verify if that's true or not? Spend a little time on Vessel Finder. What are the ships doing? Because these shipping companies, when their rates plummet and they can't fill their boats, they've got to save money. They've got to cut their costs. And running flat out at 24 knots ain't cheap when you've got a big ass boat like that. They can cut their fuel consumption by as much as 30% by slowing that boat down by a third. And that's exactly what they're doing. You could tell what their priorities are. You can see real time the economy grinding down and slowing down. You know, a lot of people like to take a look at this. This is the Dow. This is the Dow for it's a 6-month window, but you can see the last 3 months since Trump took office. 6 months it was climbing, a little bit of modulation there, but the last 3 months that Trump took office, it's just plummeted and it's down almost 3,000 points since Trump took office. And that's what a lot of people like to gauge things with, but it doesn't really tell you what's going to happen tomorrow, or even right now, let's take a look at what's going on with the Dow right now. Because what the Dow hasn't been able to do is mount a reasonable recovery. It's vacillating back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right now, same thing. Still in the red today. Came out down from futures. The futures were down because of idiotic, stupid trade policy. I mean, you can see it real time, and I'd advise you to do it. That's why I apologize. I was a couple minutes late. I don't know what it is about that particular rabbit hole, but if you'll go to just do a Google search for vessel trackers, there's a couple good ones out there. Vessel Finder, like I said, is another good one. It is just, you'll just sit there and you'll click on these things one right after the other to the different kinds of boats, and I mean, it just. I don't know. I don't know why I fall down that rabbit hole every time I do, but time just gets away from me. And you can see, and you'll see when the economy actually does recover. Go back, take a look. All these ships will be running flat out. So yeah, that is a way for you to see real time how these whales know. How do they know to time their investments? What does that tell you if these ships are not hauling ass? It tells you the economy's slowed. It tells you they cannot fill their vessels. It tells you that shipping rates are plummeting. It tells you that they're hanging out of outside ports longer till they can get enough cargo to actually fill up one of these ships. And the only way they have to keep those shipping rates from plummeting is to slow their vessels down. So no, it's not somebody's opinion. It's not speculation. You can see it with your own eyes. The recession, the recession is here. It's happening real time as we speak. So when you see those numbers next month and they're all in the red, you will have been ahead of the curve. You would have said, you know what, old Texas Paul there was telling me about this last month. I knew about this already. I saw it. I knew it was happening. So yeah, it's just one more thing the Trump regime is failing at. They could have just shut their mouths. I mean, think about it. If they had just put a few competent people in the administration, they could have done nothing but just show up to work. That's it. Just show up to work. They would have been fine until we had the real estate correction. But no, they couldn't do it because they're arrogant and they just believe stupid things. They can't help but fail. They filled this administration with nothing but fools and buffoons that are unqualified for their jobs. I mean, it's mind-blowing when you think about it that way. All they had to do was nothing, and the economy would be screaming along. And they could just sit there and say, yep, that was us. We did that. We're in charge now. Whoo, man, look at us go. But no, they're fools. They're incompetent failures. And that's what I told you about the 2025 project. It's doomed to fail. And it is. We're watching it happen real time. So many different things. Let's get into some of the different things that are going on, and just to pat myself on the back. Y'all remember I was explaining in the last show their crazy idea about these tariffs, and I told you they really believe they can go back to the 1800s, to the government we had. Just wreck our government and run our government off tariff revenues. just that insanity. Going back to a government that did back when we were a nothing country. We were nothing but a materials supplier for the world. That was it. We were the equivalent of what Central African countries are today. Our government didn't do anything, so we didn't need much of a government. We didn't have much of a government. We didn't. We were not a world player. So yeah, we ran things off of tariffs because there wasn't much to run. And these fools, these idiots, these uninformed morons think that they can get back to that. And I had pushback on that. I did. People that, oh no, I'm smarter than you, Paul. I know exactly what's going on. I know exactly what they're thinking. Oh, really? Pavlon 01. Thanks for being here to keep support the show. Keep the lights on. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for doing it. Morning, Texas, Paul and Patriots. Sorry for being late. Hey, just glad you're here, my friend. Just glad you're here. U.S. imposing up to 245% tariff on Chinese imports. Is that new news? Because it was 145 before. Is it 245 now? Things could have happened since I was prepping for the show. Nika T, thank you. New supporter, thank you for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. That would be good to know. I mean, you people are in touch with so much. I mean, you're always ahead of what's going on. I mean, if there's something new that's happened today on the Chinese front, since I started the show, it would be good to know. Stupid is as stupid does, man. No kidding. Stop coddling stupid. Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for supporting the show. Is it up to 245 now? What a moron. Oh, God. We'll keep looking at the Dow throughout the show just to see how badly it crashes in response to this. Oh, my God. Marianne Geisler, but Miss Levitt said China needs us. Yeah. You know what? That's half true. That's half true. They need us and we need them. Neither economy can live without the other. That's the sheer stupidity of this trade war. There just didn't need to be one. But going back to what I was talking about, tariffs and what their motivations were, don't want to believe me? Don't want to believe what I told you, what their motivations were? Okay. Well, maybe this guy knows something about what their motivations are.
There is a chance that the money from tariffs could be so great that it would replace, in the old days, about 1870 to 1913, the tariffs were the only form of money. And that's when our nation was relatively the richest. We were the richest. There is a chance that the money from tariffs could be so great that it would replace, in the old days, about 1870 to 1913, the tariffs were the only form of money. And that's when our nation was relatively the richest.
No, it wasn't. We were insignificant and we were nothing. And if you happen to pay attention, he's talking about 1913. That's about when they implemented the income tax. And you know why? World War I. And we made our first appearance on the global scale when we participated in World War I. Everything changed, and it's been different since. And no, we weren't rich back when we were using tariffs to fund the government. We were nothing. We were not a global player. We were a supply house. That was it. Vincent Day, always love to listen to you, Paul. Thanks for taking the time to do the research. Hey, no problem, my friend. And I mean that. Spend a little time on Vessel Finder. Take a look at those vessels. Don't take my word for it. Look up what slow steaming is, why they do it. Takes about 5 minutes. And you can see for yourself. This is the kind of thing that these Wall Streeters look at to know where things are headed. They don't wait for the news to tell them. They don't. They're ahead of they're ahead of it because they do. They look, you can't fudge that number. If there isn't the TEUs booked, They're going to slow the ships down to keep shipping rates from plummeting. That's just where the rubber meets the road, folks. You can't fake that stuff. Becky D, thank you, Texas Paul and Mr. Texas Paul. I watch every live from MTG's district in Georgia. Yeah, she had a town hall that went to shit the other day. She's a moron. She really is. The best thing we can do is just let these people talk. Jackie Reynolds, hey, thanks for being here. Jackie, I got you. I hope you got my response to your email the other day. What would my dollars be worth before this insanity? No kidding. Great question. Great. It used to be $1 to euro exchange rate was about $1.15 to a euro. Now it's 88 cents to a euro. So yeah, there's that. Omniscient Sphinx. Good morning, Paul. Have you heard the Republican Party is circling the wagon as they start perp walking people they think is leaking to the press? Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Actually, I've got a screen grab for you on that exact issue. V-Man, quick question: if the Trump regime is disappearing people for being critical of Israel, does that mean Team Israel comes to play here in the 2026 WWC and they get booed? Will all the fans disappear? Man, I'm not even going down that rabbit hole. I'm not. George Allen, hey, Texas Paul, I see the guitar back there. Play whenever you can. I appreciate you, brother. I'm the worst guitar player you've ever heard. I am. That's just for me, just for fun. Daryl Cruzen, thanks for supporting the show, my friend. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, let's just be honest about it. 2025 project. They were supposed to destroy the government. They're losing. They are. They were hoping, they thought they would come in, they would wreck everything, and everybody would just roll over, and they keep losing in court. Yeah, they're doing damage. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying there. They're doing damage, but it's not going away. The institutions aren't folding. It's just not happening. It's a failure. It's a wave breaking on the rocks. Doge. We're going to cut $2 trillion from the federal government. You watch. There's just waste and fraud, and we're going to cut $2 trillion. They rolled that back to $150 billion. And now they're hiding the data because every time they post data, people would point out where this is bullshit. You're failing at basic math. This isn't real. We can verify this and you're wrong. They've started to pigeonhole all of that data. That you can't really find those pages anymore if you just do a search on Google. Because Doge is failing. The economy's failing. Foreign policy. We traded strong NATO allies, our European friends, for who? Bukele down in El Salvador? Trump was just humiliated on a global scale. If you watch the interview with Bukele from El Salvador, Bukele looked like a cartel member. He looked like a drug dealer sitting there in the Oval Office. Where was the guy screaming, "Don't you own a real suit?" It's just one issue. He did the great Steve McCloud nailed it. Steve McCloud. He looked like a strip club owner. He did. Hair slicked back, no tie, black, looked like a black sweater on underneath, and just Lenore Banks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. But they're losing. Even the El Salvador thing, they're losing. The Supreme Court punched them in the mouth and said, "No, you can't do this. We're going to send it back down to the courts, give you a chance to comply. The Trump administration is trying to act like they're inevitable. They are. But you know that they know they've lost. Because they've turned to Republican campaign mode, which is just a lie 24/7. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Thank goodness for Harvard gave me some faith back. Yeah, they're failing on that front too. They had a couple people bend, but you cannot do what they're trying to do with the 2025 project just by, sure, you're destroying U.S. aid, but if that's all you get done, you failed. You failed at what you were trying to do to transform our government into a corporatist, fascist regime, if that's all you get done. Same thing with the universities. They're trying to force the universities to accept Columbia. Columbia bent the knee. Columbia took and agreed to lose control of their Middle East studies department. They're going to appoint an overseer. They're going to take it away from the faculty, which normally runs Middle East studies. That's the way it normally works. And they're going to appoint an overseer that the Trump administration will approve of. That's what dictators do to universities, folks. That's what they do. And of course, Harvard stepped up and said, screw you, buddy. Screw you. We're not doing it. And it can't survive. If everyone doesn't comply, their initiative can't survive. So other universities are now bucking them. And Harvard is going to file suit and win. They're going to win. Randy Ryder, Texas Paul, remember, sir, elect a clown, expect a circus. Didn't think that'd mean a sideshow freak. Yeah, no kidding, brother. Thanks for supporting the show. $50 is a lot of money. I'm very grateful. And yes, thank you, Harvard. Stephanie B2 says, thank you, Harvard. This is what it takes. It takes people refusing to comply. But let's pause for a minute. Let's go back to talking about Abrego Garcia. And this is how you could tell they know they're losing. Listen to what she says here.
Abrego Garcia was a foreign terrorist. He is an MS-13 gang member. He was engaged in human trafficking. He illegally came into our country. And so deporting him back to El Salvador was always going to be the end result. There is never going to be a world in which this is an individual who's going to live a peaceful life in Maryland, because he is a foreign terrorist and a MS-13 gang member. Not only.
And none of that is true. That's how you know they've failed and they've lost. They've gone back to Republican campaign mode, which is just to lie to their base. Because everybody that's not their base has access to the information to know this is a guy living a middle-class life. This is a guy with no MS-13 gang affiliation. This is a guy who is raising 3 special needs kids. He's a union member. He's a sheet metal worker. This is a guy working a normal freaking job, living the American dream, is the only reporting that we can verify on this guy. Their accusations, they will not show their work. They will not give him due process, because then they have to prove that shit, and they cannot prove it. And they know it. So what are they going to do? What they always do. That's the lie. That's the lie. They're going to sit there and they're going to lie about the man over and over and over again. Instead of proving it, they could prove this. They could prosecute him. Show us that he's an MS-13 gang member. Due process. That's all due process is showing your work. And the reason they will not is they know they're lying. Marcia Klepper, thanks for always being here. Grasping at straws. That's right. That's absolutely right. But think about what an admission that is. Think about it. If they have to go back to that without proving any of it, they know it's time to go to campaign mode. It's time to create that tsunami of bullshit that keeps the right wingers, irritated, agitated, and willing to show up and vote. That's all they're willing to do, because none of what she said plays in court. And they're getting the crap beat out of them in court over this. Laura White's had a peaceful life in Maryland, kind of gave it away. Yeah, no kidding, right? He has 3 special needs kids, 2 of which are not his. They're from a previous marriage. And he's raising those special needs kids. That's all I know about the man. I don't know the man. All I know is what's reported about his life. That doesn't sound like an MS-13 gang member to me. And remember, it's nothing. They have nothing, but they claim to have a jailhouse snitch. And they don't want that to see the light of day. They don't. But they know it's going to. They know it's going to. Sherry Propora, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate the support. $20 is a lot of money. Steven, I need new tires for my truck. I ask anyone if there are USA tires with no tariff. How can tariffs harm tire sales? There are a few American-made tires left. There are a few. But you got to hunt for them. But you have to understand the problem with that. Let's pause for a second, answer that comment. The problem is, it doesn't matter if they're American made or not. There's an assumption that's made that, well, American goods won't get more expensive, so we'll buy American goods. Oh, yes, they will. Oh, yes, they will get more expensive. If you slap a 245% tariff on Chinese goods and raise the price of Chinese tires, do you think the American tire company is going to keep their prices down here? No, that's leaving money on the table. Why wouldn't they raise their tire prices to match what the new tariff tires are? No, this is going to cost. There is no finding cheap American goods. That is a myth. American companies will raise their prices to meet the tariffs. That is what's going to happen. But yeah, folks, this whole nonsense is just, like I said, again, it's just falling apart in front of our eyes. This is happening right now as we speak. Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen is in the air flying to El Salvador. He's demanding to meet with Camaro Abrego Garcia. Way to go, Democrats. Way to put it in the administration's face. Good job. Good job. This was him this morning when he was at the airport, when he was flying out.
I'm here at the airport. I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador. The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring Abrego Garcia home until he returns to his family. I hope to meet with representatives of the government. I hope to have the chance to actually see Kilmar and see what his condition is. But we are going to keep fighting because this is a miscarriage of justice. The Supreme Court has ruled 9-0 that he was illegally taken out of the country and put in a prison in El Salvador. And this is about due process. This is about rule of law. What bullies do is they begin by picking on the most vulnerable. But if we get rid of the rule of law, due process, in the United States, It's a short road from there to tyranny. I'm here at the airport. I'm
Way to go. Way to go. Way to go, Senator Van Hollen. Exactly the way you handle this. Exactly. You go down there, you demand to see him. As a United States Senator, you demand to see him. And you let that pimp looking son of a bitch tell you you can't. And you do it on camera. You force the situation. Meanwhile, back here in the States, one second. This is Judge Paula Zinnes. And this is in her court right now. And she's not having any of it. She's demanded depositions be filed in her court by April 23rd. The government tried a little, pushback. And she said, no, cancel your appointments. Cancel your vacation. I don't care. You do what you have to do. I want depositions in my court by April 23rd. It's all hands on deck for you. And that is huge. That is huge. And I'm telling you, it's being nationally covered, even by the worthless corporate media. She has put the Department of Justice on notice. We're not going to play games here. Not in my court. It's not going to happen. We're going to keep running this up the flagpole to the Supreme Court. I'm going to order you to do it. The government, because they are desperate to keep Abrego Garcia out of this country, they do not want you to see him. They do not want you to hear from him. They don't want you to hear that he's just a middle class guy working as a sheet metal worker. They don't want you to hear any of that. So they're going to try to defy the courts. And the Supreme Court has already let them know, look, we like to pander to you and everything, but if you openly defy the court and the court follows the rules, I mean, they tried, like they rejected one order from Jeb Boasberg, told them to clarify it. They're trying really hard to piss on their own judges, but it's not working. Everyone knows the Trump administration is backed into a corner on this. And all they can try to do is pretend that they're inevitable and they can get away with this, and they're going to fail. They know they're going to fail. So that's what the new strategy is. Remember, we've talked about this before. We've talked about, we cannot forget, we're not just talking to each other. We're talking to the stupids. We're talking to the uninformed. We're talking to the morons out there that are MAGA voters. We're talking to everybody when you're talking about an election. Laura White said, good for Van Hollen, but shouldn't they be, I'm not sure what you're saying there, released, because no one has done that from the federal government yet. They're forcing the situation, and they know they're going to lose. They do. They know they're going to lose. The Supreme Court has already sent the signal. We're not going to cede our power. We're just not going to. We're going to help you every way we can with these judges. Make sure they dot every I, cross every T. We're willing to piss on our own judges, but you're going to lose, and they know this. So what does this mean going forward on this front? Well, it's another failure. It just shows that they're not inevitable. It shows how much power you have. ET is, thanks for always being here, my friend. As long as it does not become another Jonestown, love y'all. I'm in the hospital at the VA at this moment. We'll be here for a few more days. Brother, take care of yourself. Email me. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what's going on, man. So, yeah, they're shifting into campaign mode. Remember the last election? All they did was lie to try to they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Well, now it's Abrego Garcia is a terrorist. He's a terrorist. He's a sheet metal working terrorist. Because it's all they've got. And think about how that looks, folks. I mean, think about how they look. Think about the way they're trying to frame this and how it's going to play. You have a stripe of moral decency. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. We're different people. We are. We'll vote about this. We will. But think about your average, UFC watching bigoted white dude in Alabama. That guy's really cool with it. He's okay. And when they tell him what he wants to hear, which is this is what they're going to say. That guy was a gang member and a terrorist. It won't matter that he finally comes back. It won't matter that they find out it was a jailhouse snitch and it was bullshit. It won't matter once it goes through the courts. He won't hear that. He won't entertain that. That'll be fake news. Fake news. And they will frame it exactly as they're trying to frame it. That good-hearted Trump regime is just trying to get rid of these violent, desperately violent gang members. And even though 75% of the people they deported don't have any criminal record whatsoever, them violent gang members and them Democrats, look at them Democrats fighting for the gangs, fighting for MS-13, because you know they're going to vote illegal for them Democrats. You know that. You got to show up and vote because they're doing it right. You could see it right in front of you. Look at them fighting for Abrego Garcia. You know that guy's going to vote illegal. He's going to vote Democrat. You watch. They're going to steal the election from you, white man. And that's what he wants to hear. That's what he wants to hear. He's not a loser. His life's not hard because of him and the poor choices he made or the fact that he just can't deal with life. He wants somebody to blame. And that's what they're going to do, folks. It is what they're going to do. Zone 10, are we approaching one of your red lines? It actually looks like it's going the other direction, my friend. It looks like we're winning. It does. Pamela Bradley, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. But even this political strategy is failing because they really thought they were going to get some violent protests. They thought they were going to get some great footage to put on Fox News of somebody breaking a window and that's coming. You watch. The protests will continue. We'll have more protests. And then you'll see the white supremacists showing up with the masks on, hiding their identity, smashing windows so that Fox News can have their footage. You watch. But yeah, look at event to event to event. They're further detaching themselves from reality and shifting back to campaign mode where they just make it up. They just make it up as they go. Lud Pendry, thanks for being here. New supporter. Glad to have you, my friend. Glad to have you. You guys make it possible. But yeah, let's look at a couple different aspects of where these failures are happening, how it's just collapsing from different directions. What we're seeing that people are just like, no, this is not okay. Let's talk about some things that they cannot frame Because remember, they want to talk about immigration. They do. They can flat out lie. They want to be having this Abrego Garcia conversation. They want this. Even though they're losing it, they know electorally it's a winner for them. It is. It's a net winner. But let's keep talking about the things like you are not inevitable. You are not going to go into universities and you're not going to do what the Nazis did and tell universities how they have to teach, what they have to teach, what they can and cannot do. That is not what our government does. These are not government indoctrination systems where the government tells everybody what to do. There is such a thing as free speech. And thank God, Harvard is standing up and making it happen. Even though you have places like Columbia that bent the knee. And I know what you're saying, Paul, how can you say that we're winning if Columbia bent the knee? Because you're going to get a lot of people on social media, the doomsayers that are on our side, they are. They're going to, that's terrible. But that's not the big picture. For this to work, for it to be a fascist takeover, for it to work, everybody has to comply. You can't get people of power standing up. Because I'll let you in on a little secret, folks. Fascism, democracy, any of these governments, communism, none of them can function if just 3.5% of the population says we're not going to play. It doesn't take 50%, 60%. No, the fact is, most people, no matter what happens, most people just go about their lives and don't participate. They're not you. We are a rare breed. We are above, head and shoulders above the morons out there. Most people are watching basketball or football. They're like, "Oh man, football season's going to be coming up in October. We got to start getting ready for that." The majority are just sheeple that go along no matter which way the wind blows. It's a very small sliver of society that actually makes things happen, and it does not take a massive amount to prevent fascism or even collapse fascism if it takes root. It doesn't. It's just historical fact. And you can just see them failing everywhere, and they know it. Trump just sat in the Oval Office and had just an unmitigated temper tantrum about Harvard because he knows that's it. Once Harvard stood up and said, no, and you had a couple big law firms doing the same thing. They bent the knee. So they're like, "Ooh, we're inevitable. Look, we made this big law firm bend the knee." And then law firm after law firm after law firm after law firm said, "No, we're not doing that. We'll fight it out with you. You're not going to win." Every aspect of their plan is failing. Jeff, thank you for being here, sir. I really hope that this is has a good outcome because we can't afford to have the precedent being set of having due process being ignored and trampled. That is exactly the position the Supreme Court is in. And I can tell you what's going to happen is this is going to fall down to a 5-4 decision. They're going to give the politicos on the Supreme Court, your Samuel Alitos that are Republican before he's American, the Clarence Thomases that is whoever pays him, you know, they're gonna give the Republicans some political cover, but the Supreme Court, they know they're gonna lose. They're gonna throw John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett under the bus. You can already see how it's gonna break out because it's going back to politics, folks. Because they just, everything they do, they keep failing. Foreign policy. SignalGate is not going away. You have major news outlets that are still following this, still keeping track of the events that are happening right now. And they're starting to try to blame it on staffers. But again, this is blowing up in their face and they're going to lose because they're absolutely defying a judge's orders. They were told to retain their records. They were ordered to retain their records by Jeb Boasberg. You must retain your records. They didn't. This headline: CIA scanned the agency head's phone after SignalGate for evidence of war plans and chats. Here's what they discovered. What they discovered? Nothing. Because it was deleted. They found nothing. They were told to retain the records and they didn't. So that's going to head back to court. And that is going to be headline after headline after headline, reminding people that they were using personal damn cell phones and free messaging apps. And that they were transmitting classified documents back and forth. And we have whistleblowers already saying, oh yeah, there was classified shit in there. There were. And it's not just, here's your admission, okay? That they know they're losing and they know they're going to lose. They're in campaign mode. Remember the comment from earlier? I told you that we were going to talk about this. Well, dozens of DHS staffers, including top FEMA officials, given lie detector tests over alleged leaks. They're trying to terrify employees to stop them from talking about all the sorry illegal shit that they're doing. The fact that they're not complying with the Federal Records Act, the fact that they're defying judges' orders. What they did was, and this is the hilarious part, and this is why people are actually laughing about this, even though it's a damn tragedy and some people are losing their jobs. They're trying to claim it's over classified information. These people are accessing and sharing classified information. They're leaking classified information. So we have to have this investigation. And everybody's saying, bullshit. You know how I know that's bullshit? Who are you giving polygraphs to? Oh, yeah. Low-level staffer Chad. Well, Chad doesn't have access to classified information. He couldn't share it if he wanted to. He's a freaking coffee boy. So what are you really worried that Chad is sharing? Chad is sharing that you're doing illegal shit. And you don't want Chad talking about that. You want him fired. Well, guess what? Chad doesn't go away. Chad is still going to be there. That's why this is a failure. And you know, they know they're losing. You know, they're turning to campaign mode because they want to spin this as, oh yeah, terrible things are happening. Terrible things are happening. Those Democrats, they're fighting for the terrible people. They are. Look at us just trying to do our job, trying to stop classified information from getting out there while you're literally texting classified information back and forth on personal cell phones, which there's no denying it's personal cell phones, because you just saw the CIA went in and looked at John Ratcliffe's personal cell phone, found the signal chats, they found the groups, but all of the information's been deleted. And it was transmitted in Russia. It doesn't fly, folks. And people, bigots, and people that don't give a damn about immigration, that aren't us, that don't know it's about decency, don't have the mental capacity to extrapolate out, if they could do it to somebody like Abrego Garcia, they can do it to you. The principle still applies. Those morons, they care. They understand. Wait a minute, the government's not supposed to use personal cell phones. They're not supposed to transmit classified information over personal cell phones in Russia. That they get. And they're losing. They're losing. Warren Benson, Trump is trying to control people by keeping them dumb. That's why he attacks the media, our education system, and the legal system. That has been a Republican plan for decades. Keep them stupid. Give them the mushroom treatment. Keep them in the dark and bury them in bullshit. That's why the broligarchs have been buying up corporate media. Inquisitive Prince, as a former Republican converted progressive after the George W. Bush debacle, I know the Republicans. You have to fight these Republicans at every turn, all the time, from local to federal. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen. Thank you for keeping for reminding us. But folks, there are things that are happening that people understand, that are not. Bigotry will not send them out looking to the right wingers for their bullshit story, that so they can sleep at night and they can continue to vote Republican. There are things happening that we have to amplify. Things like this. And I guarantee you they're going to go fire this guy now. One of the heads of the CDC says the measles cases are most likely underreported as outbreak swells in Texas. About 750 people now have measles. Swells in Texas. The leader of the CDC's measles team said the agency was, quote, scraping, unquote, to find resources to address an outbreak in the Southwest. People care about this. They care that 3 people have died from measles. 2 of them were babies. And what they're finding out, if you go back, just Google this headline and read this story. The Cliff's Notes of it is this. An overwhelming majority of these people that didn't vaccinate their kids, and that's why their kids have measles, and they're in the hospital, a CDC representative interviews them and their family. And what they're finding out, to their horror, is this ain't the first case of measles. This is just the one they were hospitalized over. So they know these numbers are wildly underreported. Well, yeah, Bobby got real sick, so we had to bring him to the hospital. But when Tiffany had it, she did okay. She just got to 102, got some of them freedom pimples all over her, and then she was fine. So we didn't report that one. Wait, what? You had another kid with measles? Your cousin Timmy can't hear right anymore because he had measles and nobody went to the hospital? Nobody reported it? Just let little Timmy be deaf? Yeah, that's what the CDC is finding out. And they are freaking horrified. They are sounding the alarm bells. This is way worse. Now, fortunately, look, you know me, I'm not a fear monger. I don't try to scare people unnecessarily. Our parents loved us. We got the MMR vaccine. And if you're concerned that it's not still effective, there are tests. They can test the efficacy to see how well you're still protected. You can get that done at CVS, by the way. Just most of your, if you don't like CVS, check with your pharmacist. talk to your doctor if you're worried about but most of us were vaccinated because our parents loved us. This is a moron thing. This is leopard eating the face from the, COVID anti-vaxxer bullshit. This measles epidemic is, pardon the expression, it is fucking these people up because measles is incredibly contagious and it's spreading through pockets of these anti-vaxxers. Not you and me, them, the anti-vaxxers. And a lot of those anti-vaxxers are finding Jesus and taking their kids down and getting them vaccinated. But the CDC doesn't have the resources because of the Trump regime. And people understand that. That is not complicated. Measles bad, kids die, no vaccines. Politically, talk about that. That is important. I promise you that has more impact in the next election than this horrific, horrible violation of Abrego Garcia's rights. Because so many bigots in this country don't give a damn because he's brown. They don't care. They really don't. Man, I don't know what that last pot of coffee is. I didn't make that one, but that is some good coffee, man. I hope your coffee's good this morning. I really do. I really do. Mute for a second so you don't hear a big gulp. But yeah, something else they understand. You remember we did the show on click farms? We talked about how the people you're hearing from on social media and the stuff pushing this right-wing bullshit aren't really people. That each one of those server boxes holds 20 cell phones, and each one of those cell phones has multiple social media accounts. Yeah, the bots. X isn't real, folks. X is literally made up bullshit from all over the world. Well, this happened. This is actually a real person that is one of the few real people, Doge designer. He's one of the few real people that, the bots will elevate. That's what they're designed to do, to elevate. And Elon Musk elevates this account all the time. This guy has a picture with Elon Musk. Well, he forgot to turn his location services off. And everybody on the right thought this guy was an American. Every time Doge did anything, the government Doge, or actually this guy is affiliated with Elon Musk's crypto bullshit, Doge, that Doge is named after. Yeah, he's in frickin' India. And whenever he puts something out, you get this massive number of bots from these click farms that elevate what he says. And all these right-wingers are like, loving this guy. Well, guess what? They found out he lives in India. That isn't going to fly. They're bigots, first and foremost. And it's not going to sit well with them that their Elon God uses accounts like that to elevate what he says, to pretend that there's a lot of people that agree with him. And this guy's in freaking India. And on the tech front, it's not just things like that. Because I told you, they're morons. They're inept. They're stupid. They are destined to fail because these are not smart people. Sure, some of them are technically smart, but have you ever talked to somebody that all they do is sit in a room and code? Yeah, that's not a great conversation. It's really not, because they end up on places like 4chan. Now, if you don't know what 4chan is or remember hearing about 4chan, Linda Orndorff, thank you for being here. Always a good, solid supporter. You folks are the foundation of the show. Thank you for keeping the lights on. The Trump regime is dismantled. The Trump regime is has just dismantled our cybersecurity agency. They are working on it. They are going to do damage. Nothing I say here about the fact that they're failing doesn't mean that they're not doing damage. That damage is what we're going to ride to the midterms, because people understand that. They understand that they have destroyed FEMA. What do you think we're going to do through this entire storm season when FEMA can't respond and hits all of those red states from Florida to Texas? They're failing, utterly failing. Spicy Jester, you can lead a Republican to facts, but you can't make them think. No, you cannot. And one of the reasons you can't is 4chan. 4chan is a hub for white supremacists. It's got gross ass pornography that other sites won't allow. It's a hub. It is where QAnon blossomed. It's where January 6th was kind of hubbed and coordinated. It's a horrible place. And the people that run it are horrible people. Well, you remember that deep state? You remember that deep state that they always talked about? Well, guess what? 4chan got hacked. Yeah, 4chan got hacked. Oh, my God. And this is just, I heard about this immediately after it happened. And where we are at in the process is legitimate journalists are now looking at the data. The data that they hacked from 4chan is being released on a competitor's site that ain't much better. It's not. It's called Soyjack. They are releasing the admins' personal information, the admins from 4chan. And these morons put their email addresses into 4chan. Their pictures, their personal pictures, they're doxing them completely. And the absolute part about this is these people, these admins that are associated with this white supremacy, this bigotry, all of this awful, horrible QAnon crap, and all of this sickness have .gov and .edu email addresses. And the lights are on. And the lights are on. Remember, everything Republicans ever accuse us of is because they're freaking doing it. You know, I had a guy accuse me yesterday of being paid by the DNC. If you people can figure out how to get the DNC to pay me for all this work, I'd be really freaking grateful. But the reason they make those accusations is we saw the people that do what I do on the right are being paid. And not just by Republicans and Republican billionaires. They're being paid huge. I'm talking Tim Pool is now working in the White House as press. He has press credentials in the White House, was being paid by Russia. This all came out. So yeah, they accused me. I want you to think about that when you think about this whole deep state thing, Because what 4chan is exposing, the hack of 4chan, and this is where we're at. The stuff came out yesterday morning. Legitimate journalists now have it, and they are verifying it as we speak. So over the next few days, remember, you heard it with old Texas Paul first. Over the next few days, you're going to see the actual deep state exposed and laid bare, and it's all going to be bigoted ass freaking Republicans. And I swear the number of these people that are going to end up being federal agents is going to be off the charts. Just put a pin in it. Old Texas Paul said it. Watch it happen. Watch it happen. Sally S., what's Anonymous up to lately? This kind of thing. This kind of thing. Thanks for research you do for us, Texas Paul. Hey, no. Thanks for being here. It's about you people. It's about the community. It ain't about me. It's about the community. It's about what we do as a whole. Because like I said, it doesn't take much to defeat fascism. It doesn't. SFL, we must all protest. We can't make up excuses. You stay home, we lose. Here's the thing about the protests. I'm all for the financial protests because with the economy slowing, they're hugely impactful. They showed that most people during the economic blackouts curbed their spending about 10%. That is huge because these corporations rely on growth. A 10% reduction wrecks their stock. And your message gets very clear to the oligarchs. You're doing it, folks. You're doing it. Thank you, Helen. I appreciate you being here. I really do. Thank you for supporting the show. But yeah, it's every front, all over the place. It is just blowing up in their faces. And it's things like this. And this is why you don't see Elon Musk anymore, why they pigeonholed him, because stuff like this lasts. And what we're going to do, I'm going to talk about what we're going to do about it here in a minute. But you remember this? We talked about this in the show. Mike Flynn had a spreadsheet and was talking about financial data from Lutheran Family Services and the grants they were getting. And it was a Doge spreadsheet. It was data that Doge had taken out of the Treasury and gave to Michael Flynn. And the corporate media, I screamed about it, and the corporate media never picked up on it. And social media went with the spin from the corporate media about, well, this is a religious fight. It's religious infighting. There will never be right-wing religious infighting. That is not the story. What the story is, what the fuck was Mike Flynn doing with that data? What was he doing with that data? Why was it given to him? 1 second. Thank you. That's very flattering. Oregon Wine Lady says, when I drink at your fountain of knowledge, I always come away smarter. Thank you. That was the story. And we have to keep at that story. Why? Politics. The dummies that aren't us, they get that. They get that very simple question. Wait a minute. You took my data and gave it to Mike Flynn? Who are you sharing my data with? Enter this. We've got a congressional whistleblower. And they're taking data out of the National Labor, the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board. And he said, we got a problem here, folks. And if you don't think they're really scared about what this guy is saying, you need to understand how they reacted to him. He's a senior IT specialist at the National Labor Relations Board. And he has official whistleblower protection with Congress. And he is talking about massive amounts of National Labor Relations boards being downloaded out of the NLRB. At the same time, he said, out of the blue, the minute I started seeing these huge chunks of data being funneled out of the NLRB and DOJ will not tell me where they're going, we also started seeing hacks from Russia, attempted hacks from Russia. All of a sudden, we've got this Russian IP address that keeps trying to log in to the same databases. And we have no idea where these chunks of data are going, and DOJ will not tell us. But we know they're sharing it with Michael Flynn. What else are they doing with the data? Well, I can tell you what part of it's going to be. Skeet Sayer, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate you. The entire admin needs to needs to be impeached for their Nazi-like deportation. When you think about it, Canada is like Austria, circa 1937 versus Germany. The Russians have ruined social media by indoctrinating idiots in Congress and Fox News and MAGA voters, I would add. Thank you. $50 is a lot of money. I appreciate you for supporting the show. I appreciate you for keeping the lights on. Jerry, thank you for being here, my friend. New supporter, thank you for being here. The National Labor Relations Board has tons of personal, private information, job information. They've got information from lawsuits that they file. Which has, you can imagine the kind of information you get out of discovery. All of that data is gone. You're talking about information on unions, union membership, personal addresses, contact information. It's a massive amount of data that the National Labor Relations Board has, and they don't share it. It's your private shit. They don't share it. Until now. And the stupids understand that, because the stupids have spent decades whining and crying about the government listening on my phone, the government wanting my information. That's why I can't let the government know how many guns I got, because, the government can't have that information. That is huge. That is huge going into the next election. And DOJ will not tell us what they're doing with the data. Now, I can tell you one of the things that they are doing with it. They are they're using AI to crunch this stuff. The same stupid stuff that the dumbest among us are repeating about the Social Security Administration, 150-year-olds getting payments. Wink, wink, it's fraud. It doesn't matter that we crush that. It doesn't matter that we got the information out about what all that really was. There was no fraud there. There was no bullshit. You have their base repeating it and believing it because they have to. Because if they don't believe that bullshit, then they have to believe that they're accessing their data for nefarious reasons. All the shit that they were afraid of, their people are doing to them. So they have to believe these bullshit stories. That's what this data is going to be used for. It's not going to be legitimate. We're going to wreck it. The minute they come out, we're going to say, okay, I know where this data comes from. This is why it's legitimate. This is why the government does important things, serves you, and was doing a job. And they're mischaracterizing this data. It won't matter. Not to their base. Not to their base. It won't matter. And I have to tell you, you have to see the fact that they're in this campaign mode already knows they're in trouble. They know they're failing. They are. Nothing they're trying to do is working. They've added $6.5 trillion to the deficit. What happened to Doge? I thought all that was supposed to go away. It's all failing. What they're coming up with is the next, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. That's what this is all about. Chiron1, thank you for being here. New supporter, glad to have you. Enjoying my birthday morning, 72 years young, by watching Texas ball and drinking my coffee. Man, my friend, I hope your coffee is as good as mine. I do. Well, I hope it's better. I hope it's better. Happy birthday. Do something fun today. But yeah, people understand this. Doge says it needs to know government's most sensitive data, but can't say why. That, my friends, has hang time. That politically, amen. Breaking news from Sharon Novak. I love you people so much for being on top of these things, sitting there watching my show and keeping track of the news. Judge Boasberg just held the Trump administration in criminal and inalienable contempt. Good. And that's what I mean. They're failing. And kudos on you folks, because what they needed, one of the things that they needed, and this is why I want to warn you about being very careful about these protests. Be mindful of your look. No masks, phones out, man. Film everything. Because they desperately needed you. Do you remember when the old Kevin at the Heritage Foundation? One second. I think I got a picture for you. 1 second. You remember when old Kevin Roberts sat there on Air Force One making this comment? One second. You remember when he was sitting there with Trump and he made that comment that they were going to basically destroy and create a new government, and it would be bloodless if we would allow it to be? You remember him saying that? We covered it in the show. Because they needed for us to be violent, for their narrative to work. That was one of the things that you short-circuited. When you didn't respond violently, they lost their power. Because remember, this is not the meat of the country. This is fractions. This is portions of us to exert or lose this control. And they're losing the masses. They're losing the masses because even people that don't like protests will support a protest that says, hands off my Social Security. Man, that's Tea Party themed shit. It short circuits everything they're doing. And you are doing an amazing job of both resisting this and making sure that we're not giving them ammunition. And I do have concerns. Now, this Abrego Garcia thing, we have to fight this out. We do. We have to. This is everything. This is rule of law. This is due process. That man cannot be allowed to just be sent off to a foreign gulag. We cannot set that precedent. We have to bring him back to his family. And if they want to charge him with something, they have to show your work, due process. We have to have that fight. But that can't be our primary message going into the midterms. It can't. We have to be smarter. We have to hammer away on SignalGate. We have to hammer away on the destruction of NATO and our weakening in the world. We have to hammer away on the economy. And keep pointing out that, yeah, this is happening right now because of their stupid policy. The Dow's crashing again. People get that. People understand that. People will vote. People will vote. And the numbers out about, remember that independents aren't a very large number, but the independents out there are vitally important because these elections are a point to 5 points. Most of the elections are in that range. The independents have broken hard to Democrats. And you asked me, somebody asked me this morning, when is this going to end? And I can tell you an exact date. January 3rd, 2027. Now, I know you people are so smart. And somebody will know the significance of that date. January 3rd, 2027. We're nearing the end of the show, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to see if somebody, because I'd love to brag on you folks and how smart you are. Why is it going to end January 3rd, 2027? I knew it. It is the next Congress after the midterms. That is when they're seated. That is when they take power. And that is when that whistleblower that's talking about Doge data, that's when we get proper hearings in the light of day and everybody sees it. And we get investigations. And Doge has to answer. They're going to call every one of those little bigots, and they are bigots, man. The things that they're doing, every one of those little Doge bigots that are out there that are doing things like thinking it's a great idea to take immigrants and declare them dead at the Social Security Administration. Yeah, they're going to have their ass drugged before Congress. And people like Stephen Miller, who's going to refuse, they're going to prosecute him. This all ends January 3rd, 2027. If we keep hammering at it, if we keep doing the right things, keep doing the things that we need to be doing. Amy Emanuel, thanks for always being here. Didn't Shrub also send people to a gulag, including the original gulag? Yeah. People didn't dig Abu Ghraib, and people did not dig, sending people down to Cuba. It doesn't fly. If we keep doing the right things and keep fighting it out, get in touch with your local Democratic Party so you can be part of that next midterm election. You saw the numbers out of the last election. Tallahassee. We closed Tallahassee. We moved 20 points in Tallahassee. What does that mean in Nebraska? What does that mean in Minnesota? What does that mean in Oregon? What does that mean? And, folks, that means that this is going to be a disaster. And you can already tell they know it. They're spinning into campaign mode. That's why you have the White House spokesperson, Carolyn Leavitt, sitting up there lying about Abrego Garcia, making a fool of herself because everybody can say, prove it. Try him. Prove it. You won't even show us the accusations you're making, and you won't even show us your evidence. She's making a fool of herself, but it sells to their base. and they're already in campaign mode, and we need to be too. We need to be too. Monica Meadows, can't wait to see Pee Wee Goebbels on trial. Amen. That's a great name, by the way, Pee Wee Goebbels. Hold the damn line. Absolutely. Stop coddling stupid, aka Wolf McBashes. Thank you for always being here, my friend. Hold the damn line is right. No circular firing squads. Keep pushing. Keep hammering away. Keep hammering away, and we will get this done. Well, folks, I hope you can, the theme of the message today was the wheels are coming off on what they're trying to do, and they're losing. They are. They're doing damage, but they're losing. And I hope you can see from the things that we're talking about, we're heading into a recession. Put a pin in it. Call me out on it. If I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. But everything is pointing at we're heading into a recession. All of these things going into the next election. People are like, we're only 3 months into this, and look how terrible it is. Yeah, exactly. We're only 3 months in, and it looks terrible for them. People hate these people already. And it is, and think about it. We're 18 months from the next midterm election. Folks, things change. They're not going to want to do this unpopular shit 6 months in. So it's really only 12 months. We have to battle it out for 12 more months. And then the Republicans will scatter like cockroaches and run for the hills. I think we can do this for 12 months. I can. I think we can fight these fights. I think we can support people like Mark Elias and the ACLU and the folks that are fighting it out. We can do this. We're not going to lose our country. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay if we keep fighting. I love you folks. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Cecile Kazemi, for supporting the show. Eric Prince wants to run gulags in Ecuador too. Working on it for more than a year. And I don't doubt it for a bit. I don't doubt it a bit. They have been talking about several different countries that they want to do this, not just El Salvador. In fact, they tracked the deportation, used flight tracker information. They tried to spoof their information so people couldn't track these immigrant flights, and they figured out which, because they've got to put a tail designation on it. They've set up where people are actually keeping track of these flights, and they tracked one going to South America. So yeah, this is going to blow up. This is going to be huge for the next election. This is not who we are. This is not who we are, and people won't accept it. These are the kind of things that even the stupids get. Peter, thanks for supporting the show. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. Catch my whiff. All Republican House reps are up for replacement November 2026. Research which Republican senators can be replaced. Amen. Amen. That's what it's all about. January 3rd, 2027. This all ends. Sharon Reddy, it's hilarious. Trump is assuring the far right is losing elections all over the world. They are. People have Trump has been an eye-opener for the world to see exactly what happens when you fool around with this fascism bullshit. I mean, it's going to be damage. It's going to be crap that we're going to have to fix. It's going to cost us time we didn't have to give, and we're going to lose status in the world. But if it makes the world a better place, I'm willing to do the work to fix all this. It will have been worth it if we can end this bullshit flirtation with fascism. Skeet Sayer, what is sad is Kamala promised the exact opposite. Yeah, I mean, all of her policies were literally the exact opposite. We did not need a trade war with China. All of this could be handled with negotiations. Treat people like they're your friends. Negotiate. We didn't need to be the ugly Americans again. Well, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I hope it was useful. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it. Let's get as many people involved, as many people in the audiences as we can. Pretty please hit that thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. I will see you Friday. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.